Hello and welcome to the Total Faith Show. I am Cynthia Smith, your host. I'm also the CEO and founder of Total Faith Network and Media Marketing, and we produce an array of programs that inspire, educate, and sometimes even challenge our viewers. But more importantly, we want to empower you, the Total Faith viewers, to win. That's right. The tagline for Total Faith Network, everyone wins at TFN. We have shows that inspire. We have shows that educate. We inform you. But the whole idea is that we want you to be empowered. Empowered because we know that once we can get into your mind, influence you, how you think, we can get you to live differently, be different, and the outcome of a lifestyle can be different. We have lifestyle, we have entertainment, we have information shows that we produce, and the Total Faith Show is the flagship show. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, we are the flagship show, but we have an array of other programs, and continue to watch week by week. Today we have in the studio with us a gentleman I recently met by the name of Damon K Jones, and he represents the Blacks in Law Enforcement of America. And he and I, we're doing something that's very intense. Okay, it's very intense, but it's very informative. It's going to educate you, and for some of you who are watching, it's gonna even challenge you. But the most important thing is that everyone is going to win, because we're into winning. We're into making sure that everyone wins, not just a select group, not just a particular group, but everyone has to win. So with that said, I want to introduce to you Damon K Jones.
How you doing?
And how are you, sir?
I'm fine.
It's such a pleasure to meet you finally in person.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
I had gotten some literature across my email that came through me as a community advocate myself, and I read the newsletter about, confronting the U.S. Attorney and doing all that we needed to do to be able to bring to the attention, like, something has to be done about all of what's going on in not only New York, but across the country of these United States of America, but not just in these United States of America, all over the globe. The whole world is being affected by powers of authority that are ruling as if they're dictators, and they're just trying to extinguish, if you will, a race of people. Now, here we go. Damon K Jones, you represent the Blacks in Law Enforcement of America.
Yes, I do.
Now tell us a little bit about that, if you will, for those who may never heard of it, because there's so many other agencies. And would you please?
Blacks in Law Enforcement of America is a national organization of black law enforcement professionals. Whether you're police, corrections, sheriffs, probation or parole, or even civilians that work in a law enforcement institution, you can be part of our organization. And the main goal of our organization is building that bridge between law enforcement and the community that serve. As we watch on the news, you see all these different incidents, and the communication and the relationship of the community, especially the black community, Hispanic community, all the poor community, whether what color you are, is very strained. we cannot have law enforcement and the community having an adverse relationship, because
Right.
how can you solve crimes? How can you keep crime down if the people aren't talking?
Especially if you're supposed to uphold the law,
Right.
those who are sworn in
Yes.
to protect and serve
Yes.
the law.
That's right. So we are that voice, because a lot of times you hear a lot of people say, well, you know, nobody is speaking up when a cop does wrong. You know, so we speak up and we address the issue, but we also address the issues in our community. We also address the issues of crime and violence in our community. We also address the issues of poverty in our community, because we feel those issues, even education and economic growth, because those are the recipe. Those issues are the recipe of crime and violence. So if you have a good education system, if you have a good economic growth in your city, you will have less crime and violence. But we see in our communities, especially the black communities throughout the nation, those issues are very prevalent.
Yes.
You know, educational system is failing.
Yes.
The economic development is failing.
Yes.
Job growth is failing. So you have crime and violence. But we also know that from a police perspective, you cannot arrest away the problem. And that's what they try to do, is arrest away the problem.
But let me ask you something. With all of that being said, it sounds as if, is it something that might be conspired to bring such of what we see in our communities? I'm saying that because everywhere you go in this country, there is abuse of authority with law enforcement, and you represent law enforcement.
Right.
Your organization represents law enforcement. How does that make you and the other voices of law enforcement feel to have your own peers to deregulate or disregard the oaths, the very oaths of which you took and all the other organizations have taken to uphold and to serve the people of these here United States?
Well, I mean, that's why we formed these organizations, and that's why organizations, black law enforcement organizations, were formed back in the 50s and the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and on. So we could be protectors, not oppressors of our community. But the sad thing is, over the years, that the number of black law enforcement officers are dwindling. You know, we're here in Westchester County. In the next 20 years, you'll hardly see a black cop on the street in Westchester County, because our numbers are dwindling within the police departments here in Westchester County. So, you know, we continue to try to get young people on there, but we have to be the voice of reason. We have to be the voice of justice. You know, if a cop does something wrong, if he crosses the line, then he should be held accountable. Same way, if somebody does a crime in the community, they should be held accountable. So how do we stop the no snitching? No snitching is a response to the blue wall of silence. So why don't the law enforcement turn over their bad guys, and the community will be glad to turn over their bad guys. But if the community don't see accountability of those who claim to enforce the law, why should we turn in our bad guys? And that's what's going on today.
You know, as you were talking, I started to think, you know, in every discipline, and I know we're talking about law enforcement,
Right.
but in every discipline, whether it's corporate America, whether it's teachers, whether it's the church, whether it's, as you said, in the criminal justice system, judges.
Right.
I mean, there's always some, you know, unjust person that is involved on higher ranks,
Right.
and they get away. Some of them get away. I mean, we've heard about the scandals. Unfortunately, you know, the all of those things that have happened. So it doesn't appear any different in the law enforcement. So basically, it's a matter of morality.
Yes.
I believe, in one's character.
Yeah, yes, and also if you look at, and I'm glad you brought that up, you look at the Enron case. What happened after Enron?
Go ahead.
Washington passed laws for oversight on how they invest people's money, right? If you look at Exxon, when they spilled all the oil, what happened? Washington passed laws to do what? Have oversight to make sure these oil companies do what's right by their regulations. The banks, when we had the big downfall, what happened? Washington passed more laws to do what? Have oversight of the banks. Where is the oversight of law enforcement?
Exactly.
Why haven't Washington passed laws, or why haven't the governor, or why haven't the county legislators, or the city council people actually passed laws to have oversight of law enforcement? The law enforcement officer is the only person that can take your life legally. He could be judge and jury on the spot, but there is no proper oversight of his training and policies and procedures that regulate it.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we want to talk about the oversight and how that may be a first solution or first step to the solution, because we didn't even touch on the root.
Right.
Okay, that because this is going to be a series that we're going to do. You and I, we're going to bring in, and we're going to take a quick break, because I'm getting excited now. The bottom line is, this is going to be a series, and Damon and I, we have decided that we wanted to really bring to the attention of not just the tri-state region of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, on-demand live stream, but also across the country, because we do air on Dish Network as well. The bottom line is, we are responsible for what goes on. Put it this way, I believe that I have a social responsibility as a media journalist, as a woman who is influencing those of you who are watching. So when we come back, we're going to talk about those areas that pertain to what the local, regional, and states are doing in terms of governors, city council. I mean, we can even go to the president. The bottom line is, there's an order, and we need to talk about that order so we can have an oversight of what's going on at the grassroots.
Are you behind on your mortgage? Is the bank threatening to take your home? Are you considering trying to get a loan modification on your own? Did you know that less than 5% of people who tried on their own actually got a modification? At the Mortgage Modification Helpline, we know the rules and regulations banks don't want you to know about, and we've helped thousands of people stay in their homes. So call the Mortgage Modification Helpline today.
Please call 800-650-2047.
I really get I get angry when I see YouTube and this and that, and as one that is involved in politics, if you will, with the recent add-on to what God has opened for me to be able to talk to different mayors and city council people. I'm a voice.
Yes.
You're a voice.
Yes. Yes.
We're here in media. That's why we're doing this.
Yes.
We're not doing this for no malice reasons, for no popularity. We're doing it to get a message out that there's a root, there's a problem at the root, and we need to get into the solution. And it can begin with city officials.
Yes, it can begin with city officials. They can pass what is called a civilian complaint review board, where
we don't have a civilian complaint review board.
Not every city has civilian complaint review boards, but the problem is with the civilian complaint review boards. A lot of times it becomes political. They can appoint a civilian complaint review board, and the mayor can put the people that's on the civilian complaint review board. So if the mayor controls the people that's on the civilian complaint review board, and the civilian complaint review board does not have subpoena power to make the officers come and testify against them, and if the civilian complaint review board cannot actually bring formal charges, city charges against the officer, then we're wasting our time. So we found that a lot of civilian complaint review boards within local municipalities are such that they're just paper tigers. They're really not doing anything. Now, if you want to jump to the county level, the county has no type of oversight of its 43 municipalities. I'm dealing with Westchester in particular.
Yeah.
They have no power over the 43 municipalities. When Detective Christopher Ridley was shot and killed right here in White Plains, they had a use of force review. They spent $100,000 of the taxpayers' money to have this report, and they recreated training to adapt to what happened when Christopher Ridley was killed. But guess what? They had no power to make the 43 municipalities do the training. So the only people that actually got trained was county police and corrections. So, I mean, so what's the point? Now, if we go to the state level, we used to have, under Governor Cuomo's father, he did appoint an independent special prosecutor when the young man was killed out in New York under his administration. But there hasn't been an independent investigator for any police shootings since. Now, here's the difference. If an inmate dies in a jail in New York State, throughout the state sends an independent investigator from the Commission of Correction to investigate the death of that inmate. But they don't do that when there's questionable police shootings. There's nobody involved. When a young man in Newburgh was killed maybe 2 years ago, the city council did the right thing. They requested an independent investigator from our current governor, who's now running for re-election. They requested an independent investigator. He turned it down.
The governor?
The governor.
Our current governor?
Our current governor. See, we have to understand where do black people, where do the poor community, where do the community of color sit when we deal with law enforcement in our community. We're the only communities in the United States that don't control how our communities are policed.
But yet most of us are in these communities,
right,
and we don't have representation.
We don't have representation, or we don't control the policies and procedures. You know, these issues don't happen in the Italian community. We know it don't happen in the Jewish community. See, we know, especially the Hasidic Jews. They don't. The police don't even go in the Hasidic Jew community unless they're called. You know,
but
so
they come into our communities.
And they police our communities, and there's no law enforcement. There's barely law enforcement officers that are from our communities.
So why aren't they policing these other communities? Why are they only policing our communities?
Because we don't have no political power.
Do you think it has to do with black on black crime?
No, there's no. First of all, let's put the black on black crime myth.
You want to put that to bed?
I want to put it to bed today.
That's Amos, though.
No,
Amos.
but black on black crime. 89% of black people kill other black people. That's the statistics. Guess how white people, 90% of white people kill white people. So that's white on white crime.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, they don't call, when the young white men go in and they mass murder, and they go in the movie theaters and they don't call that white on white crime. They call that what? A tragedy. So let's kill the black on black. You are most likely to get killed by people that you know, by your community.
Gotcha.
So if you live in the black community, it's a 90% chance you're just going to kill by somebody that look like you. If you live in the white community, 90% chance you're going to look like. So that is a myth.
That's a myth.
We're going to take
a quick break, and when we come back, I want you to address, why hasn't there been a national outrage from black officers concerning these pressing past and current issues? Because these are not just current issues. These are issues that have come from the past.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And then also, what is the root cause of the tension between law enforcement and the communities of color? When we come back, we will be right back after this quick break. Don't tune away. We're here with Damon K Jones, representative of Blacks in Law Enforcement of America.
Broken AC $4,600, water heater $1,500, fridge on the fritz $1,000.
You won't pay any of that when you have home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club.
They'll repair or replace your covered home appliances and systems for around $1 a day.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
Call the number on your screen now. Get a month free plus $75 off your first year HSC home warranty. No worries, just service.
Come on, Damon.
Let's
back.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Answer those questions, if you will. The first, as I already stated, why hasn't there been an outrage by your peers?
Young black officers, they don't know the struggle of how they ended up with the badge and the blue uniform. They don't know that it was literally a struggle. People died. People fought and sacrificed for us to have that uniform. They don't even know that, there were times that when we black people were first in uniform, we couldn't arrest a white person, or we couldn't work. We only could work on the night shift, and they used to call it the Black Watch, because that was the shift they put on the black officers. There's a precinct in Miami, Florida. The segregated precinct is now a museum where black law enforcement officers were segregated from the white officers. See, if we don't know our history, and you have some black cops that don't even know that the Westchester County Jail is named after a black man, Noah D. Jackson.
In Valhalla.
So they don't even know that. So part of it is that we lost our history in law enforcement. We lost the understanding of the struggle. And then when you have young kids who never seen a check like the check you get when you work for civil service and you work for law enforcement, they don't want to mess that up, because they feel that if you hang around with Mr. Jones, you're a radical. Or why are you talking that black stuff? So young black officers today, they have to reconnect with their community.
Let me say this on that note, and then I want you to answer the second question. What is actually the root cause of the root cause of the tension between law enforcement and in the communities of color? These young officers, and any officer for that matter, whether they're black, white, Asian, whatever, when they are sworn in, they take an oath to serve and protect. So something has gone awry, and maybe that's too long to answer, because I really want to get to that root with the limited time that we have. But they should not be in law enforcement just to get paid, just to get a check. It shouldn't be about the money. It should be about your character to see your society be better and to uphold. You understand? There has to be innate character.
Now, let me make this clear. There are those officers that do get the job to do that. I'm not saying everybody. We're not putting a blanket. No. We're not being anti-cop. No. We're not saying all cops are bad.
No, of course
but
not.
We're saying is that the majority now are not in it, for the actual service.
They're just in it for a paycheck.
Right. And how can you serve a group of people that you don't know, that you never grew up around, that you don't even understand? Only thing what you see is what you see on cable, and then you're dropped into a community,
that you don't even live in.
That you don't even live in, and we acting crazy as hell. Okay. Let's be honest.
Now let's get to the root.
So that reinforces.
Yes.
That reinforces what they see. That reinforces Boys in the Hood. That reinforces all those movies that they see that's negative about the black community when they come and seeing us act a fool. So actually, they're terrified.
Okay. How about the root now to the relationship of, as we said, the tension between the law enforcement in our communities of color?
I think what we need to have a national conversation on.
Yes.
How do we dismantle policing and build it back up? We can't add, we're going to add on some training. We're going to do this. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's like baking a cake and you forget the eggs, and you just, when you pull the cake out and you just crack the eggs on top of the cake, and now you got the cake. That's not going to work. That's not going to happen, because the root cause is that policing, as we know it today, was built on the oppression of slavery. So it was designed that way. Patrolmen, what they used to call patrols, what we call today, the patrolmen. They used to call them the patrollers. They enforced the slave codes and the black codes. So, and then over the years, after slavery was abolished, over the years, it migrated into your local police departments. Okay. But then, still, the root is what happened with those patrollers. well, they ended up being part of the Klan. It's
Right.
all in history.
It's all in the history.
It's
You
all,
know,
it's all in the history.
We're running out of time, but we're gonna do this series, you and I, and we're gonna have everyone just note that we're doing a series, the Black Enforcement, the Damon and I, who represents blacks in law enforcement of America and Total Faith Network. Okay, we represent the voice of the people who are not being heard and those that need to be heard through lifestyle, entertainment, and information. So therefore, we come to be the voice to the voiceless, and you're going to help. And we're going to bring a dialogue. I mean, we're going to have a dialogue of others who are also part of other agencies, much like yourselves, who has been around for a long time, that you all have been in this struggle for a while. This didn't just happen.
No.
These issues didn't just come from out of the air. They were here all the time.
Yes.
So we're going to do a series. We're going to have dialogue, round table, table talk, around the table, different voices to be heard so that we can get to solutions. Because as you said, we're not going to just crack an egg on top of a cake that's already been baked. This thing has been baked. It's getting burnt.
That's
and
right.
now it's time to scrape out the burnt, throw it in the garbage, and let's start all over again. Okay? It's time to know who we are and really make a difference.
That's right.
And with that said, is there any final remarks you have before we close out? We only have maybe another minute. Any final remarks? And if you want, you can actually talk right into the camera.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to have this discussion, and we're going to continue to have the discussion. And for the people that are watching, you know, take part in your community. Take part in the politics of your community.
Great.
Take part in who is elected, because they pass the policies and procedures on how your community is policed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Mr.
you.
Jones, Damon Jones, everyone. Damon K Jones, representing the blacks in law enforcement of America. And here I am, Cynthia Smith, representing Total Faith, because you know we come to you every week onto your computer screens, your iPhones, iPads, smartphones, laptops, television screens throughout the tri-state region of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. But we also air satellite throughout the country and international on Dish Network. So we are making an impact in lives. We are touching lives, changing lives, and empowering people to win. And with that said, I'm glad to be a part of this series. And as we move forward, we're going to tackle the issues of police criminality. Okay? And write me, go to www.totalfaithnetwork.com. I welcome your suggestions, your comments, and even your prayers. And if you would like to also hear of any special episodes or other topics, just give us an email. Shoot us an email. And with that said, I always say, here at Total Faith, we walk in total faith.
Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it out. This is how we live it. The Total Faith Show. Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it loud. This is how we live it. The Total Faith Show. Come on, get your hands up. Everybody sing it loud. This is how we live it.